This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And now we know, Matt.
Now we know. It's official, in the books.
It is official, the Steelers schedule out there. We have the preseason schedule as well, and lots to dig into. So let's get right to it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steelers preseason schedule at Jacksonville, August 9th.
Sounds like a chilly day afternoon, huh?
Yeah, sounds like it'll be
right.
Nice and
bring your parkas.
Yeah. Then they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Saturday, August 16th. That's their only home preseason game this year.
Okay, right.
Then they're at the Carolina Panthers.
Also,
League throwing them a little bone there. That's Thursday, the 21st of August. So then they are off for that.
So it's a Saturday, Thursday,
yeah.
right?
So the whole league will play on that Thursday. That way they have a
nice 10-day stretch, and except for the Cowboys and Eagles, they get a nice long rest for opening day Sunday.
Well, and the Chargers and Chiefs.
What do they do? They go to Brazil. Okay, yeah.
That's why the Chargers' schedule this year is the most air miles traveled in league history.
Is it league history? I know it's number one this year.
Yeah.
Well, I guess going to Brazil goes a long way to adding that up and being a West Coast team to begin with.
I think it's like 37,000 miles and change.
And the Bengals are like well under 10.
Yeah, they have like 8.
Okay, yeah.
But if you hopped on a plane and decided you were going to fly the whole way around the equator,
okay,
that is just under 25,000 miles.
Wow, so that's like an equator and a half trip.
They could circle the globe and then land in somewhere in Asia and say, okay,
that was it. Wow, that's a lot of hours on a flight. That's insane. Back to Steeler preseason. I bet Mike Tomlin loves it. Heat, conditioning, sweat, toughen them up.
In August, you're going to get heat no matter where.
No matter what, but at Jacksonville.
Jacksonville heat is, and even Carolina heat's a little bit different than it is here.
Oh, no question. No question. I mean, it'll be warm here, but those two places are going to be hot, and getting condition might help you in week one.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Moving on to week one, Steelers at the Jets on Sunday, September 7th. That's a 1:00 game. A little Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers.
So that's a little tinfoil hat-ish, but I mean, if the league didn't think Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Steeler, would that be opening day? I mean, there's a 1 in 17 chance. I mean, I get it.
So there was a press conference today, or a phone press conference today, and the league was asked about that. Well, if we knew for sure Aaron Rodgers was signing, that would probably be a primetime game.
Okay. But
As
it is week one, and it's going to get a lot of eyeballs and the field situation, and it's a nice little wrinkle.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk more in depth about the schedule, but new coach, new quarterback. You love that.
New quarterback.
In week one, that's great.
Week 2, they have the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf revenge game.
Revenge game. The Seahawks, to your point, new quarterback.
Second year coach. Yeah.
Brand new, kind of brand new off. It is a brand new offensive coordinator. He's done it before, but not with this particular team.
New place. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of new linemen, too, on all these early teams.
Yeah. As for that purpose, the Jets offensive coordinator is a first-time coordinator.
Yes.
He's never got a brand new head coach who's never coached a game before.
Right.
And a brand new coordinator who was a passing game coordinator in Detroit.
So he came with the Lions, too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Week 3, they're at New England on the 21st, 1:00. New coach.
New coach, new coordinator, but they've been around the block.
They've been around, but it's still a quarterback who has 12 career starts.
Yep. So a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks here so far.
Week 4, they got the Vikings.
That's where I was going with that.
September 28th, that's a 9:30. Well, we knew that one already. That one is in Dublin. But again, new quarterback.
And it's a goofy little tidbit, but all 4 of those teams drafted an offensive lineman in round 1, which means everyone changes their O-line. But I don't care where you're drafted. Rookie O-linemen have a tough time. I mean, it's welcome to the league, Well,
not only that, but if you look at those teams, the Jets have a bad offensive line.
Yeah, it looks like it's trending the right direction.
The Seahawks have a bad offensive line.
Interior of the Seahawks.
The Patriots have a bad offensive line.
Yes, agreed.
The Vikings line is
I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
They had their bye in week 5, coming back from Minnesota.
Which is the earliest you could have a bye.
Yeah, and the Steelers didn't want that. I think they would have preferred to have a Monday night game coming back there. The league said, no, we're going to give you the bye week.
Yeah, it's not exactly ideal, but hey, and it's going to take a toll going overseas, but it would have been nice to have it mid-season or later. The byes this year between week 5 and 14, and that's the earliest you could have one.
Coming out of the bye, they host the Cleveland Browns at Acrisure Stadium. That's a 1 o'clock game.
Okay.
Who knows who's going to be quarterback?
Yeah,
the Browns at that point.
Going to bring that up for the second Browns game, which is much later. That I bet we've seen several quarterbacks by then, maybe even by this point.
Then they have their first short week of the season. They turn around and go to Cincinnati Thursday, October 16th. And while that sounds daunting, and it will be, the Bengals that week, or the week before that, are in Green Bay for a 4:25 start.
Oh, are they? Okay. I haven't looked at any of what the Steelers' opponents are doing the week before or any of that type of thing.
So it's even a shorter week. At least the Steelers are at home. And then travel.
Exactly. So I know it's a week removed, but you will freshen up on the bye, Browns, and then you go the short week to Cincy, which isn't a far road trip, but we've seen them struggle short road trips to Cleveland on Thursday nights for sure. It's a tough situation.
It's tough.
I mean, the division familiarity. And there's 2 games that I kind of went yuck, in terms of situation, and this was one of them when it first came out. Short week against a good team,
Week 8, they come home for a night game, Sunday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers.
Nice. And it'll be potentially Rodgers' first time playing the Packers. I find it interesting, too. I know he's not a Steeler yet, but Rodgers, much like Ben in his day or Brady in his day, destroyed the NFC North, and especially the Bears.
Yeah.
Not the Packers. He hasn't had a chance yet, but I bet he's going to have a little something extra in the tank if that happens, if that comes to fruition.
Week 9, that would be November 2nd, 1 o'clock against the Indianapolis Colts.
Here.
And
you had some great notes in the last night's show. Colts have been really bad in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're like 17-2 against the Colts in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Week 10.
And Green Bay has actually been really rough here of late, too. I think 0-6. Does that sound right?
I think they've lost their last 6 in Pittsburgh. Week 10 at the Chargers. That is a Sunday night game. So 2 Sunday night games in 3 weeks. One of them is on the road. You don't like to see West Coast
night games. That part's bad.
They then come back home the following week to host the Bengals again.
Yeah, there's 2 stretches, I'll get to the other one in a second, where it's really strong quarterbacks back-to-back weeks, and this one's Herbert, Burrow. Sunday night on the road's bad, don't get me wrong, but I think for those that are kind of looking at the Dublin game as, we lost our 9th home game, you kind of get it back in L.A., you know what I mean? And I also think Dublin's going to be really strong with Steeler contingency.
Yeah. After playing the Bengals at home, that's a 1 o'clock game. The Steelers in Week 12 go to Chicago for a 1 o'clock game.
Okay, that's a place the Steelers have struggled.
Steelers are 1-12 all time in Chicago.
Okay. Yeah.
I did get to see that one win.
Did you?
1995 overtime game.
Okay.
Neil O'Donnell out-dueling, I can't remember who the quarterback was.
They've had so many.
I don't believe it wasn't Cutler. But, yeah. They beat the Bears out there with a good defense, too. That was like a 38-35 game.
That's the first road game that I kind of look at and say weather could be, I mean, who knows? But that one's when it's starting to get the weather time of year in Chicago, Windy City,
They then come home Week 13 to host the Bills. That's a 4:25 start.
Which looks brutal, and I'm sure it will be. I think Buffalo's really, really good. But to your notes,
10-3 against the Bills in
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Buffalo has struggled here.
Week 14, they finally get their first game against the Ravens. It is at Baltimore, December 7th, 1 o'clock in Baltimore.
Okay. I mean, again, you get them twice late.
Yeah.
Which I'd prefer that they spread things out a little more, but okay.
And you're playing Bengals, Bears, Bills, Ravens back-to-back.
Yeah.
Back-to-back.
And that's what I was going to say, too, about that Herbert Burrow back-to-back. Well, this one's Allen Lamar.
Yeah. They then come back home again for a Monday night game, their only Monday night game of the season, so they get a little extra rest there. Mm-hmm. And they play the Dolphins.
Right, which I don't think the Dolphins are happy about. I mean,
I'm guessing not. That is December 15th at night in Pittsburgh.
At night here, cold. I mean, that's not set up well for Miami.
Week 16, This would be their only other short week of the
This is
season.
my
They
other
only have
yuck-
2 short weeks of the season.
My other yuck game, yeah.
At Detroit, 4:25 start.
Brutal place to play. Really good team. I don't know if there'll be a lot of Steeler fans invading Detroit. Short week. That's a tough one.
They then go to Cleveland, so that's back-to-back road games. But
what's the Browns going to look like at that point?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
will they be on quarterback number 4? I don't know.
Maybe
But
5 or 6. Somebody who's not on the roster.
yeah, to be named later quarterback.
And then week 18, they finish up those days have yet to be determined. That is against the Baltimore Ravens to finish up the season at home.
And who knows? I mean, Baltimore is a really good team. Might they be resting starters? Who knows? I mean, it's a possibility.
I don't think they will, because here's the Ravens.
Ravens have a weird schedule.
The Ravens, what they finish with this year is kind of brutal.
I forget what the number is, but the Steelers finish with a bunch of playoff teams in their last 8 games or whatever.
The Ravens, 3 of their final 4 games are on the road.
So they have a really weird stint of home, road, home, road. Like there's 3 teams that have 3 road games in a row, and they're one of them. But it's flanked by 4 home games and 3 home games.
Yeah.
So they just have all these stretches.
So they have, starting in week 9 at Miami, that's a night game, Thursday, October 30th. Then they're at Minnesota. Then they're at Cleveland.
Okay.
New York at home.
Which at Cleveland doesn't sound difficult. The Ravens are better than the Browns. We all admit that. But the percentages of winning the 3rd road game is so low in NFL history. It's under 20%.
They got three in a row at home, against the Jets, against the Bengals, against the Steelers.
Okay.
Then at Cincinnati, New England at home, at Green Bay, and at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're one of the few teams that are away the last 2 weeks, too. I think there's like 6 or 8 teams that have 2 home games to finish or 2 road games to finish.
And that game against the Bengals at home is a Thursday night game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ending with 2 road games, I think, is rough. I mean, you're pretty beat up over the course of the season, no matter how life's treating you. You don't want to end up back-to-back road games.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has tough stretches in their
of course,
schedule.
of course. But if you're a first-place team in a good division, you're right.
Undeniable that this schedule is easier than last year's schedule.
Pittsburgh's?
Yes.
1,000%.
And I'm not even talking about the opponents.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the
lay of the land.
They had 5 short weeks that they played on last year.
Like, that's just wrong.
All of them came after week 9.
Yeah. Plus, all the division games were in the second half of the season.
Half of their games in the second half of last season came on short weeks.
Yeah, that's a lot to overcome.
And then people want to, you talk about the 3 games in 11 days. Well, other teams had to do it too. Well, yeah, they did.
They did.
But here's the difference. The 3 teams the Steelers played finished the season 41-10.
2 of which met in the Super Bowl.
2 of which met in the Super Bowl.
Right.
2 of those were on the road. The first 2 of those were on the road. The Chiefs, meanwhile, they did it as well.
Yeah.
But
they have a weird schedule this year, too.
The 3 teams that they played finished 23-28.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 teams that Baltimore played finished 23-28.
Yeah,
they both started that stretch. The Chiefs did it against the 3-14 Browns, and the Ravens did it against the 3-14 Giants.
Giants, I would say, yeah. But it's a lot different.
It's a lot different.
It's a lot different than the Super Bowl teams and the Ravens, who are as good as any team.
And they also didn't play back-to-back road games in that stretch. They had a game in between there where they were at home.
Mm-hmm. Which goes a long way, too. I mean, we said that, we did the schedule release show last night with Mike, and we said it 1 year ago, one day and 1 year ago. Like, this is asking an awful lot in terms of travel and rest and all that type of stuff. And it 100% came to be true against really good teams.
Against really good teams that and people might say, well, the NFL doesn't know who's going to be good each year from year to year.
Yeah, but they're the Super Bowl teams.
They guess.
I mean,
there's a reason why, for example, the Tennessee Titans got no primetime.
That's what I say, and the Chiefs have 1 million.
The Browns got 1.
Right.
Like the league has a pretty good idea. Okay, that team's going to be bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's teams like Washington that shock you, and then the following year you get more action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, until proven otherwise,
but there's usually not multiple teams that come out. Oh, hey, they improved by 8 games this year.
They don't blindly put teams on Monday night or Sunday night.
No.
Obviously, I mean they're smart and they're trying to get the most eyeballs on the game.
Yeah.
You know?
So the league does have an idea of who's going to be good and who's not.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the 4 teams that were picked to play on Christmas Day last year were the Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, and Texans.
And Texans were good, too. Right. You would get eyeballs on
And
it.
even despite that, like the Chiefs played both the Texans and the Steelers during that stretch, their 3 games in 11 days. But again, they kicked it off with the Browns, who were like no chance of beating.
It's a little easier.
Yeah.
Right. It's a heck of a lot easier.
23-28 versus 41-10. Don't tell me it was the same stretch.
No. And again, I had a problem with 6 division games in 8 weeks, too.
That as well. They're a little more physically demanding.
They are, and they just mean more, and it just doesn't make much sense to me. You know, like I was looking at the Niners schedule as an unbelievably easy schedule. They play Seattle in week 1 and in week 18. Now, it doesn't have to be that different, but I'd like to see the games kind of, spread out. I mean, looking at it from the other team's perspective, what if Lamar misses 3 games and 2 of them are against the Steelers? Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, and people might say, well, why are division games more physically demanding? Because the teams know each other so well that it just, like any little tricks that you have,
you don't out-scheme them as much.
Aren't going to work.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you're not going to out-scheme them because they know you, you know them. It's going to come down to it's a physical matchup.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Back to something we were talking about yesterday, too. I think that's at least as true in this division as any because there's not any coaching overturn. You know, I mean, all these guys know each other, right? I mean, I know your tricks. I know what you're trying to do. This is your favorite run play. You know, I mean, stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you saw it last year on Hard Knocks. There were no secrets between those teams.
It doesn't mean you know every play they're going to call or what their game plan is, but you got a pretty good clue. Yeah. This is what works. Lamar and Henry aren't real hard to figure out. Burrow's not real hard to figure out, you know.
Yeah.
They're not going to run the ball 70% of the time in Cincinnati.
So that's the schedule. We will break it down a little bit more here when we come back. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And Matt, it's kind of nonsensical at this point of the year, but let's go through the schedule and
we're gonna win-loss it.
Why not?
Sure, I guess everybody does.
Everybody does.
I make fun of people for doing it because it's you have no clue who the quarterbacks are going to be and all that stuff. But yeah, I like it.
It gives you an idea. I mean,
yeah.
Put it there. So the Vegas over/under total was 8.5.
Okay,
let's see if we can get to 9.
I wonder how often or how much the Vegas win totals change this week. Because, oh, man, I didn't expect them to have this many short weeks or whatever. Now I'm going under.
Yeah.
The Sharps might be on top of that.
They might be. So, at the Jets in week 1.
I like Steelers in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if it's Rodgers. I mean, with all that time to prepare.
Against a team he is really ticked off at.
And I like Justin Fields, but the Steelers know him really well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said for that. I think
first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator.
Right.
He's never called a play before in a game.
And they're not a super talented team. Yeah. I mean, they're a rebuilding team. And if it is Rodgers versus Fields, the Jets don't have the same advantage the Steelers do of knowing the player that they're preparing for. You know, I mean, they know what Fields likes to do and what he doesn't. The Jets don't know that. I mean, they weren't there with Rodgers.
Yeah, the coaching staff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, Quentin Williams might, but right.
Week 2, Seattle at home in their home opener.
Tough one. I think Seattle's pretty good, but it's here. I expect them to be 1-0. I would think the fan base is pretty rocking and excited. I don't love Seattle's O-line, but I can see that being a low-scoring defensive battle. Their head coach knows the Steelers really well.
Yeah.
I'll take the Steelers.
I like the Steelers at home in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're both going 2-0
at the moment.
Okay, so that's 2. Week 3 at New England.
Tougher than you think. I don't think you just roll the football out there.
No, they're a better football team than they were.
But I think the Steelers are favored in that game.
I'll bet you they aren't.
Really? If they're 2-0, I bet they are.
Well, maybe, but
yeah.
Vegas is trying to get money on both sides of that. The Patriots are their fans still believe at this point.
Yeah.
They'll bet that Boston.
I mean, I don't.
But I
seems
think
really optimistic.
If we're looking at it,
3-0.
I think they're a better team on paper than the Patriots.
I do too. I'll pick the Steelers, but Do I firmly believe they're going to start season 3-0, that this is easy? No, it's not how the league works.
2 of the first 3 are on the road.
Right.
That's tough.
Yeah. But I wouldn't take 2-1 if you said, would you take 2-1 right now? Let's see how it plays out.
I think all 3 are winnable.
Right, me too.
Week 4 against the Vikings in Dublin.
I'm taking Minnesota there. I think they're a really good team. Flores causes problems. I think that offense has a chance to be real good, but the quarterback's hard to comment on. Who the heck knows? But I just can't. 4-0 seems rich.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It does. I think you maybe lose one of those games.
Mm-hmm. You could lose in
just
England,
because.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if you go 3-1 in the first 4.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take 2-1.
You take 3-1 in all 4 segments, and you're going to be
you'll be
12
sitting
wins.
where you want. You go into the bye 3-1, you should be very optimistic about that.
Coming out of the bye, Cleveland at home.
I think Steelers win that one big.
Yeah.
I think the Browns lose a lot of games this year.
So that would be 4.
4-1.
We're halfway there, 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
The short week against the Bengals.
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not picking that one.
Even if their defense is junk, that's a tough one.
Week 8, they get the 10 days off before they play the Packers at home in a Sunday night game.
It's a coin flip to me, but Rodgers versus the Packers on a lot of rest. Here, I'll go with the Steelers.
I think so, too.
So that's 5-2?
That's 5-2.
Okay.
Colts at home.
It's losable, but I don't have a lot of respect for where they're at right now. I'm going to take the Steelers.
I think I am, too.
Right.
6.
6-2 is a really strong start.
Week 10 at the Chargers, Sunday night game. Think that's going to be filled up with Steeler fans.
I do, too. But I'm going to take the Chargers there.
Okay.
7-2 just seems a little rich.
Seems a little rich.
Yeah.
Okay. Bengals at home then coming out of that.
I think they split with the Bengals.
I think they split with the Bengals too.
I'd be shocked.
So that would get our 7th
7-3.
At Chicago. They never win in Chicago.
That's a loss for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a tough environment. I think that team's trending the right direction. Maybe it's sloppy conditions, but Rodgers kills the Bears.
He kills the Bears.
Kills the Bears.
Yeah.
It's like Ben versus the Browns.
Yeah.
So that's 7-4.
7-4.
Right.
Buffalo at home in week 13.
I'll take the Bills.
Okay.
That's 7-5.
Week 14 at Baltimore.
7-6.
Okay.
It's a tough stretch here.
Week 15, Miami at home.
A nice resounding win.
Yeah, I think
8-6. Yeah.
Week 16 at Detroit.
That one I hate. 8-7.
Week 17 at Cleveland.
I think that's a steamroll. I think you want to play the Browns as late as possible, that things won't matter at that point. They may not even have a head coach.
That may be a fire the head coach game.
If he lasts that long.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad head coach, but I think it's going to be a miserable year for them. So that's 9-7 going into the
game against the Ravens here in week 18.
I'm going to say a split against the Ravens too. I mean, split with the Bengals, split with the Ravens.
They've won 4 of the last 5 against the Ravens in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And so that's 4-2 in the division. Beat the Browns twice. Split against the other 2.
10 wins.
That'd be 10 wins. I think that's very doable. Now, will Rodgers, I keep assuming it's him, can he last 17 games? That's a bit of a concern at his age.
That's why you got Mason Rudolph.
Right. Who's going to be in the games for these? But we don't know that for any of these teams.
Yeah, we don't know. But I think it's a
Who's
manageable.
Who's the Colts quarterback going to be? Who's the Browns quarterback going to be?
I think it's a manageable schedule. Just again, to me, the rest factor, and when I say rest factor, the fact that you have so many of these games on regular weeks,
adequate, normal routines,
makes a huge difference.
It does, and you wouldn't think it does, but it physically does for sure. Just the wear and tear on the body. But being around these guys, and you know this, and I think a lot of the listeners know this, when I started being with teams, I was so shocked what creatures of habit football teams are.
Yeah.
From coaches to players.
The preparation, and when I say preparation,
spot,
I'm not even talking about the player preparation, the coach preparation.
Right. You break down red zone on Tuesday at 4. As soon as, like everything is exactly regimented. Groundhog Week.
I mean, to me, the most difficult thing about the whole situation of those short weeks, you've got coaches on a plane. Let's say you're flying back from somewhere. You got a game on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
you're flying back from somewhere.
And you're exhausted.
You just spent the whole day coaching a game.
Yeah.
Which in itself is
preparing to coach a game before that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe didn't sleep the night before.
And now you immediately have to start while you're on the plane, prepping for the next game.
Yeah.
Because you have to have your game plan put together for that next game when the team shows up the next day.
And people don't think about this, but the video guy that's in charge of getting that on your iPad's a little grumpier than usual because he had to be up all night doing it. You know, like everybody's just a little bit grumpier.
I think it's just human nature that you're not as well prepared as you normally would be.
100%.
You're going to miss things if you are that tired.
Yeah.
And your brain is that stressed out after having just coached a game, and now you got to go into the next one.
And you feel like you're rushing the next day, and like I better get up early and get to the office. You're
not going to be at your best.
No, it's just the way it is. It's just the way.
Let alone the players who then have to come around, and turn around and play a game in 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I cited it in the last segment that if you're on your third road trip in a row, even if it's 7 days, 10 days, you almost always lose.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and let alone if it's 4 days and then 7 and then 6 and like I don't know when I get my red zone stuff in or my blitz prep or man, I really wanted to tell my running backs this, but I only had one short day of practice. Didn't get that message. Did I get that message across or not?
That was what was so remarkable about the Steelers' run to the Super Bowl in 2005. Because road game.
Yeah,
to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like
against great teams,
against really good teams. Yeah, you're not just playing some
15 team in there.
No, there's no slappy thrown in there. You're dealing with good football teams on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And
again, against Joe average opponent, that third road game is like a 17% win percent.
Yeah.
Let alone against in the playoffs. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just very difficult to do, and the Steelers don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they only have 2 games in the entire season where they don't have a full week's rest.
That's not bad.
And you knew
They're
that.
tough opponents, but that's not bad.
But you knew going into it you were going to play a Thursday night game at some point.
You're never going to have 7 every week.
Yeah.
Or 7 plus.
Although Dallas got 4 Thursday night games this year.
Do they really? They always get 2.
Right.
Because they're always
I thought I saw that somewhere. The Cowboys.
Did they really?
The Cowboys have 4. I gotta look now. You knew
that schedule grid I sent you guys has all that stuff on it, real easy to see.
So they have,
but they almost always, the other Thanksgiving teams don't get this like Dallas. I don't know why it is. I think it's just an agreement between them and the league that they almost always get a Thursday either before or after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they open on a Thursday, so that's one Thursday.
Why, right.
That's
but that one's not the same.
Yeah, then they get the Sunday game against the Giants. That's a noon game. Why is that a noon game? Week 2. What would they? I guess they're listening at their time.
Oh yeah,
it's on the road.
I'm sure it's a noon or 1 o'clock.
Yeah. No, that is. Then they're at the Bears on a Sunday, Monday game. Then they have their Week 10 bye. Monday game, Sunday, Thursday against Kansas City.
That's Thanksgiving.
Then they play Thursday against Detroit, so they match both of those teams up with another.
Okay, so Detroit got that's a good move for them.
Yeah. Then they get a Sunday game, and then Thursday at Washington in Week 17. So they do have 4 Thursday night games.
Although I don't think the first one counts the same as the others, in my opinion.
And the third one, I should say, is a Thanksgiving game where they played the Thursday before.
Mm-hmm.
The second one coming out of the Thanksgiving game.
So the first one they won't be on limited rest. The third one they won't be on limited rest. And the first one allows them to have more rest for week 2.
Yeah.
Did you see
you still have to go into Philadelphia.
Oh, it doesn't mean you win. Right. Did you see the Chiefs primetime stuff?
Oh, it's ridiculous, yeah.
So they got week 1 in Brazil.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a Friday game, too.
Yeah.
Then there's Sunday night,
That's
week
good
3.
because it takes you like 2 days to get back.
Yeah, I would say that's the worst road trip ever. Week 3 at the Giants. Week 5, that's Sunday night. Week 5, Monday Night Football in Jacksonville. Then week 6, Sunday night at home against the Lions. Week 8 against Washington, Monday Night Football. And they play Thanksgiving and Christmas. That just screams Taylor Swift to me. You know, Of course the Chiefs are a good draw anyway, but if we can get her on camera 7 times or whatever that is bonkers.
All the guys in the locker room are now looking at Travis Kelce going, dude,
why don't you retire?
Retire. Or stop dating her. One of the two.
Right.
If you can't stop dating her, then retire.
Yeah, I think you guys will be fine. You get married, roll off in the sunset. Yeah. Especially if you're a declining player.
Have her hide at the stadium. So we don't want
I'm sure she's going to Brazil. You know what? No doubt.
Just, it's insane.
Right.
It's insane.
That's a lot to ask from the Chiefs.
It is. And, they're not going, what'd they go last year? 15-2, 14, 16-1,
like
whatever they were.
Right.
That ain't happening this year.
We talked about this before. I like the Bills' chances of being the 1 seed in the AFC.
I do too.
I mean, I think they roll through their division. Their schedule's not real bad. I mean, I think they're set up well.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think I do think that the Steelers can be pretty successful with this schedule.
I think we're happy with the results.
Yeah.
You knew the teams. Like I heard a bunch of people complain about the Eagles' schedule. It's really hard, but that's not the NFL's fault. You play in a tough division. You're the number 1 seed, and you have Buffalo and Kansas City. That no matter where you play those guys, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
Right.
It's just part that goes along par for the course here. But what you don't want is what the league did last year to those teams.
That's too much. And
ridiculous.
The Steelers got the worst of it, but that's too hard on any of them.
Yeah.
Christmas was a Wednesday that year, right?
It was a Wednesday.
So that's the worst day for Christmas to land, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday would have been even more feasible, or Thursday wouldn't have killed you. Tuesday wouldn't have been great.
Yeah. And they tried to mitigate it by giving you the Saturday game, but that also meant coming into that week, you had a short week.
You had a short week leading up into the match.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's nothing good about it.
It was just a train wreck.
And the teams were so hard.
Yeah.
Right. But
I can remember after they played in Philadelphia. I drove to Philadelphia for that game.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the team flight to Baltimore the next week. When I got back from Baltimore, I was tired. I was beat up. And I'm like,
more so than just as a long flight.
Yeah, more so than a usual road trip. I mean, those aren't usually all that taxing, but you do back-to-back like that, and it's like,
Yeah.
Because the thing about it was...
How many oomph,
because the game was on a Saturday, in the first game, the Baltimore game was on a Saturday after the Eagles game. Mike Tomlin had his press conference the next day after Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I drove halfway back.
Yeah,
to Harrisburg after that game after I got done writing. So I got to the hotel in Harrisburg, and it was an ice storm.
Yeah, of
the entire way. Why wouldn't it be? I got to the hotel in Harrisburg at like 1:30 in the morning. After white knuckling the whole way there.
Yeah. After a long day to begin with.
Yeah, after a 16-hour day.
Yeah.
Slept for about 5 hours. Got up and drove to Pittsburgh directly to the team facility because Tomlin's press conference was at noon the next day.
And Harrisburg isn't right around the corner.
Right. Had to get there in time.
Yeah. Wow. And that's just one example. But again, the ball boys, the guys that line the field, everybody's exhausted, and the facility's kind of, I'm doing my best here, Coach, but I'm struggling.
It throws your whole schedule off. You don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, I remember that whole stretch, and I don't travel, but I'm like, I don't. What day is it now? I don't even know. Everything was kind of a fog.
You get used to game on Sunday, game on Sunday, game on Sunday, and then they start throwing Saturdays and
the Steelers certainly weren't the only teams playing rookies. But I do remember, I think you interviewed McCormick and Frazier. I remember McCormick in particular. Like, I'm not real used to this.
I've never done this before. But we played a Thursday night game earlier in the year, so it kind of got me ready for this.
Kind of,
but not really.
But you're also on game like 14. You've never played 14 games against these level of people either.
I think you saw that with their play a little bit.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. I mean, the whole team, and they're playing great teams.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying they would have beat the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs no matter what. They're the best 3 teams in the league possibly, but circumstances sure didn't help.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. And people, that just showed who the Steelers were. Anybody, if the Bills had played that stretch, they probably, at the very least, lose 2 of those games.
It's still
if not all 3.
As what you could ask, right?
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I will concede that the Steelers aren't as good as the best team in the league.
Right. Yes, that is.
The 2 Super Bowl teams are better than the Steelers in 2024. Yes, you're right.
That was 100% correct.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, when we were talking about the Cowboys having 4 Thursday night games this year, well, if you start doing the math, it doesn't quite work out that everybody gets one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There are 3 teams this year that don't have a primetime game.
I know Tennessee's one of them because
the Titans, the Saints, and Browns. So don't tell me that the league doesn't have an idea of who's going to be good and who's not.
100%, right. I mean, those guys were all early picks. They don't project to have great seasons. There's absolutely. I mean, the Chiefs weren't an accident that they have so many.
Like that tells me that TV is coming to them and saying, hey, look.
Right.
I know it used to be that everybody got a Thursday night game, but how about we not do that?
I wouldn't mind not having a Thursday night game. I mean, I have to study those 3 teams' schedule, but Thursday night games, to me, level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, for the Browns, who they've hosted the Steelers like 3 or 4 times now on Thursday nights, because you got to try to get somebody. How else do you get people to watch a Browns game nationally?
Right.
You put them against the Steelers, or you put them against somebody of that ilk, and you get eyeballs on it. But it's not the best football.
Steelers help sell that a lot, though.
Yeah.
And it's a storied rivalry and all that, too.
Yeah. But no primetime games for the Titans, Saints, and Browns.
Yeah.
It goes back.
That's not an accident.
And not even a Thursday night. It used to be everybody had back in the day, everybody has to get a Monday night game or a Sunday night game. And then it came, everybody gets a Thursday night game. Well, not anymore.
No, not anymore. And I kind of think it'd be better if everyone did get a Thursday, but I get it. You know, people don't want to watch.
I don't want to watch the Saints.
Right. How many of those?
Think
AFC...
about the last year. The Saints were on. I think it was a Thursday. It was a standalone game. I know that, and it was Rattler in his first career start.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, rough.
That was rough.
I mean, there was a lot of those AFC South games where it was like Jags when they're bad against Matt Ryan-led Colts on Thursday nights, or Derrick Henry just running all over the whole division on Thursday night. Yeah, it's just not that great to watch. It really isn't.
So it's the Titans, the Saints, and the Browns. And the Browns only have one standalone game, that being their London game.
Oh, okay. Which they're the home
which
team
is a 9:30. That's considered a standalone game. Outside of that,
the Titans and Saints probably don't have any then.
The Browns have 2 games that do not start at 1:00.
Wow, that's just kind of all you need to know about the organization. I mean, and they were starting to build some momentum in terms of. This time last year, they had like an 8.5 win total.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No. I mean, there were people last year picking them to finish ahead of the Steelers. Remember, the Steelers picked to finish 4th in the division last year.
Widely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, pick 2nd in the draft and, pick 1st and 2nd and, 8th were those teams,
Yeah.
And they look worse this year, especially New Orleans.
I wonder, in terms of the bottom line, do teams draw better for night games? Do they?
I don't know about attendance. I mean, less kids go,
right?
Things like that.
Do you sell more adult beverages then? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if
I don't know if the financials does this hurt them in the pocketbook by not having national?
Would you
games?
rather have a home game?
I think you'd like to have the national. You'd like your You'd like your fans nationally to be able to see your team play.
100%. And obviously there's services now. You can find it anywhere. But, yes, I think every team wants to host a primetime game.
Yeah.
Whether you sell more beers and chips and stuff, I don't know. But or more tickets.
Yeah.
That I don't know any clue.
Tickets are probably similar.
Yeah.
But again, to your point, who's going to those games is a little different.
It's definitely different. Well, the environment's different too.
Yeah.
And they've been drinking all day and tailgating and stuff like that too. But does that mean you drink and eat the whole time you're in there, or did you do dinner before? Or is as many seats full? That I don't know.
Speaking of that, the Steelers, Art Rooney the second said yesterday they'll unveil for the Green Bay game, the night game, new throwback uniforms.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that news. Okay.
So it'll be a little different. They'll have their new throwbacks. I think they're going to.
We've never seen this.
They're going to unveil those sometime in the summertime, sometime in July, I believe, maybe early August, training camp kind of thing. But
they come out for the Packer game.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Also, 2 old
storied
franchises and the Roger connections. Interesting, of course.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have no idea what the new throwbacks are going to look like, but they have a long history from which to choose.
So does that mean the Packers will also wear something that's not their usual?
I don't know that.
Yeah. I don't know how that works. Because it used to be throwback games where it was like old one versus old one.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the Packers will wear their usual uniforms or not.
I like those better than color rushes. I like the throwbacks better than color rush. Some of the color rushes
could be too much.
Like Seattle's color rush uniforms are unwatchable.
Yeah. It's a funny story. My brother-in-law, who is a very, very casual fan, to be kind, he kind of watches the Steelers. He was over our place on a Thursday night one time, and it was a color rush night, and he is red-green colorblind. And it was Jets versus Bills, who were red top to bottom and green top to bottom, and he really had no clue which was either team.
They got it. We got it. They got it.
Right. They all looked exactly the same through his eyes, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, I got a kick out of it. Not that he cared that much, but I mean, it was kind of funny.
I get the idea of the color rush uniform. And
he also can't tell if it's a red light or a green light. You just have to know which one. Well, know which one's on top, but they look the same to him.
Yeah. But I like the Seattle color rushes to me.
It's too much, right? It's like Oregon almost.
Yeah,
right. Maybe it's that area of the country.
I guess so.
Right.
They like their.
I don't love the color.
Their highlighter colors.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's tough to watch. It's like watching. It's like watching a Boise State game when they had the blue field.
The blue turf, Smurf turf. Yeah.
It just looks weird.
Yeah, but I bet the Packers Steelers will be not bland, but a little more 1940-ish. That's what I'm envisioning now. I think
it's more of a contemporary throwback. I wonder if they just go block letters. I don't know.
Okay. Or what were their jerseys when they met in the Super Bowl?
I don't remember.
I'm just throwing.
Again, I'm
ideas,
not a jersey guy. I know what
I'm not at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I knew the Bumblebees.
They're hard to miss. Yeah. Hard to miss.
Anyways, that's going to do it for hour number one of the drive here on the Steelers Radio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And this is the start of hour number 2 here and on the drive. And a couple things here now with the schedule release that Pro Football Focus has put out. The first one here I wanted to get to is 4 players to target for fantasy playoffs.
Okay.
After the 2025 NFL schedule release. Playoffs?
Right.
Playoffs?
I always hesitate on some of these, but there are some that are like, man, they face a really easy stretch of passing defenses, but you don't know if it's going to hold up, but at least it's a tiebreaker,
So the first guy on here is Malik Neighbors.
Okay. They face like the hardest schedule ever.
But here's what they got in the fantasy playoffs.
Okay.
Week 15, they play the Commanders.
Their defense could be bad this year.
Week 16, they play the Vikings.
Okay. It was a good defense, but it's not super talented.
Week 17, they play, which would be championship week, the Raiders.
Nice. Okay, those are pretty weak secondaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that might be worth it. I mean, if you're sitting there in the second round.
You're not going to shy away or
I mean, you're going to play him anyways.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors is Malik Neighbors. But
if you're torn between him and Puka Nacua in the first round, maybe you take Neighbors. That's the way you look at it, right?
Or maybe you, midway through the season, you pay a little bit extra to get Malik Neighbors.
Offer the Neighbors guy somebody that's not thinking twice about it.
The second guy on here is Nico Collins.
Okay.
Week 15, the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
Week 16, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Raiders are a target.
Yeah.
Especially the back 7.
Week 17, the Chargers.
Okay. Doesn't sound super easy, but I see where they're coming from.
The next guy on here is Derrick Henry.
He's always good in fantasy playoffs anyways.
Week 15, the Bengals.
Wow. I would definitely pay attention to the Bengals schedule.
Week 16 is the Patriots.
Okay. I think the defense will be better, but it's not. I'm sure Henry will do just fine.
And week 17 in championship week is the Packers.
Okay. Do we think that's a bad defense?
The Packers finished 24th in PFF run grade last year.
Okay.
And were consistently gashed for big games, giving up 1,229 yards after contact last year.
Okay. Well, that's certainly a Henry
Something
stat.
to keep in mind when they play the Steelers.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Have they got that corrected by then or not?
Yeah. 70 missed tackles last year by that Packers defense.
First-round picks everywhere on that defense.
Yeah. The final guy on here, and this would be a guy that you wouldn't necessarily think of, and this might be a stretch, Chris Olave. Here's who they got.
Hopefully he's healthy and decent quarterback play.
Week 15 is the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think that's still a defensive target.
Week 16 is the Jets. I don't know if I like that.
Well, Sauce doesn't travel, but still, he's out there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Now, maybe you could scheme it up where Olave is away from him a lot, but I don't love the quarterback situation.
No,
necessarily.
right.
And Week 17, championship week, is the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. I think the Titans are going to be a defense we target in fantasy, too.
And that's something to keep in mind when you're drafting some of these guys. I want to look at that schedule and see, okay, who's got who. Oh, they got a bunch of games against some really bad defenses. Like, pay attention to that.
Oh, you definitely pay attention to that. And I've been paying attention to Warren Sharp's feed heavily because he's going to eventually put out that rest thing we've been talking about. But he has put a lot of things out against pass defenses. Boy, they play a really easy stretch of pass defense. They play a really hard stretch of run defense.
I don't necessarily know that you know that right now.
I know. It's an inkling.
Pass defense is it fluctuates so much.
Right. But I am with you in that, like, I bet we could come up with 6 to 8 defenses that I hope my team plays a lot this week.
Yeah.
I mean, this year. Cincy's definitely one of them. Tennessee,
the
Raiders.
And to me, it's more about, are they a good run defense or not? Because that doesn't change.
Not as
much.
From
year
doesn't fluctuate as much.
Like
right.
your guys up front are your guys, and they didn't suddenly figure out. Oh, I know how to get off off a block now.
Yeah.
You're either physical or you're not.
Yeah. No, but I do think there's something to I do it early in the year sometimes, like on going into the fantasy draft. What's the first month look like? Because I at least feel like I have a pretty good feel for that. And you're wrong a lot. Don't get me wrong. But it breaks ties. I don't move guys up like a whole tier just because it looks like they have an easy schedule.
No. Here's the second article: is 6 rookies primed to break out with their new team in 2025. The first one is Ashton Genty with the Raiders.
Sure, pretty low hanging fruit there. Yeah,
it'd be should be a first round pick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think he's a first rounder in fantasy. Yeah,
it's just a matter of where in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Which backs are you taking him over?
Yeah,
they're pretty high.
The second guy is Travis Hunter, and I think he is going to be a full-time wide receiver.
It
for the
leans
Jaguars.
that way, yeah.
And the defensive stuff will be secondary.
Mm-hmm.
No
I'm
pun
leaning that way
intended.
too. Right.
Tet McMillan.
And these are all the highly drafted guys.
These are
right.
Slam dunks, the first 3. Omarion Hampton. Do we think Omarion Hampton's going to be clearly the lead back with the Chargers?
I don't know if I'm starting him week 1. I bet I'm starting him by week 10.
I want to see how they use him in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they mixing him in? Are they treating him like he's a starter?
Yeah. Are they saving him?
Are they saving him?
Or,
Is he on the field? If Justin Herbert plays 25 snaps in the preseason,
how many of them are Hampton?
How many of them are out there with Omarion Hampton?
Glad you brought that up. And there are people that chart that stuff. That's a really good way to figure out who's really going to be used. Who's out there with the number one quarterback.
Like if they're running Najee Harris in the third quarter of a preseason game, that tells me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But a problem for Hampton is Najee's really good in protection, and he's an adequate receiver at least.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just a banger and then isn't great in protection either. Protection and fumbles are what keep rookies off the field.
R.J. Harvey is the next guy on the list.
I'm a believer for fantasy.
Yeah.
I think the situation is just really good.
And I think you're going to see him get the starter treatment.
I would think so. I mean, unless he falls on his face in camp or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He might fall on his face once or twice.
Once or twice. Maybe he's not good in protection either.
Somebody behind him. Man, that's the thing that we don't know about R.J. Harvey is maybe he's not good in protection. Maybe he's just a 2-down back, in which case if you take him let's say you take him in the third round.
Yeah.
You probably ended up overdrafting him a little bit.
Probably. I mean, he needs to get 2/3 of the snaps, to be worth that, as a rookie.
If he's not going to catch the ball at all, he'll catch the ball someone's first and second down, but I need to see him be that every down back.
Yeah. That would be nice to know going into your fantasy draft for sure.
The next guy on here is Trey Harris with the Chargers. Are we sold that Trey Harris is going to be a starter?
I think he's fighting Mike Williams for a starter gig at the moment. I mean, McConkey's going to be
Nobody's fighting anybody right now for anything.
No, it's right. I think McConkey's a total superstar.
But he's a slot.
Yeah, but he's also going to be out there in 2 wides.
Yeah.
But who else is with him in 2 wides?
Where does Quentin Johnston factor into the whole thing?
Probably ahead of Harris.
I would think.
I mean, at least, yes, I would think for sure. I think those two are the two receiver sets.
And I didn't see enough out of Mike Williams last year to say, he's going to be in that. I don't know. I mean,
right.
Maybe another year removed from the injury, he is back to that. But
I don't know. I'm not super high on Harris for fantasy.
I'm not.
He's okay.
I didn't love him as a prospect.
I didn't love him as a prospect either. And I'm not big on Johnston. I got my concerns about Williams, but he's a lot like those guys too.
Yeah.
McConkey to me is going to.
He
might have more targets than anyone in the league.
Right. That's the thing. And they're not a team that wants to throw the ball a whole lot.
No, right.
Like I can't have Amari and Hampton on this list and then also have Trey Harris on the list.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of fighting against each other to a degree.
Neither situation's great.
Right.
I mean, just because they're the first-round pick and the second-round pick, but they are fighting against each other a little bit for fantasy, and neither one's got a slam dunk path to playing time.
Yeah, I just don't.
Harvey's got a better path than Hampton.
Yeah, the Chargers don't want to throw the ball a lot.
No, right.
They just don't. That's the
way they're built.
That is Harbaugh's DNA.
Sure, you signed Mekhi Becton for that reason, and Najee, and right.
Yeah, they want to go out there and bang and just run the ball and go win 20-17.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, at the end of the year, if they've thrown the ball 450 times or 500 times, 140 of them are going to McConkey.
Oh yeah, and tight ends will get their share.
The backs will get their share. It doesn't leave a lot for the ancillary receivers.
No, I'm sitting here thinking, will Harris get the 500 yards in his rookie year? I bet not.
I'd take the under.
I bet not. Right.
Yeah, I would take the under.
I don't consider him a real refined route runner either. I mean, he may take a year, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I don't love.
Yeah. Who else would you put? I mean, Caleb Johnson would have made some sense on this list, even though I think he is going to share time.
Yeah.
But you're talking about 300 touches that are missing now from the Steelers' offense.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get his under on touches this year. What do you think? What would you put it at? I'd say like 250.
No, 250 is the number I was about to come up with.
Yeah.
And then that's not with a ton of targets either. That's probably 25 catches over the course of the year, maybe less.
Yeah. And I could see it where he might get 275.
I mean, we're assuming he plays 18 games.
If he takes the same role that Najee had, and they put a little bit more,
I would say Warren gets a little
on Warren's plate. They want to run the football.
Yeah. No, I think Johnson's definitely a better one than like Trey Harris.
Yeah,
for sure. There's definitely receivers in better situations than Harris too. What about Burden? I mean, I know he's the number 3, but he's pretty high.
The guy's in Houston. Somebody's going to emerge there.
I just know which one.
Yeah,
I like the dude that the Patriots took high on day 2, the receiver. I mean,
the Washington State kid.
Yeah. Kyle Williams. There's not much in front of him, but I mean, you're projecting. But if I were to do best ball now, those are some of the guys I'd be nabbing potentially
ahead of Trey Harris.
Ahead of Trey Harris,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I feel pretty good about Higgins in Houston.
Me too.
As opposed to Knoll, simply because Christian Kirk is still there.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk's best spot to line up. He can line up outside, but if he's your slot,
yeah. And you get those 2 big guys on the outside.
You get the 2 big guys on the outside. That makes the most sense.
That makes the most sense of your best 3.
Now, if Knoll lights it up early,
sure,
that might mean Christian Kirk is available.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Besh is an interesting one.
That's another one.
I mean, him and Myers have some redundancy, but he could be the number 2 receiver pretty early, and he's pretty NFL ready.
Yeah, who was it? Trey Tucker.
They're a lot different
in front of him.
Right. I think Besh could be a factor as a rookie.
The only thing is, they're another team. I don't know how much they want to throw the football.
It won't be a high volume.
Yeah.
No, it won't. I mean, and Bowers is going to get his.
Bowers is going to be the number 1.
He'll be number 1.
Yeah. So much of it depends on where you're at. Where did you land at?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't believe Golden's not on here.
Yeah, Golden really is getting slept on or underappreciated just in the fantasy community overall. I know he has some metrics that don't look great for immediate production, but he's good at football and he's in a good situation.
They throw the football.
Yeah. I mean, what if Dobbs doesn't come back or gets moved or something like that too? And
I mean, Jaden Reed's the 1.
Probably.
But who's the 2?
Yeah, right. I think that's why you take him in the first round. I mean, that organization.
They didn't take him in the first round to not use him. They haven't taken a first-round receiver in forever.
In some people's lifetimes that are listening, and Jordan Love was hurt a lot last year. He played through a lot of injuries. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot more.
Yeah, I do too, and I think Golden's being slept. I don't know where I would take him.
Me neither.
I'd have to think about the rankings, and that'll develop over time.
Yeah, we'll get a better feel.
But I think he's...
No one's looking at a first-round receiver like he could be an impact player.
Man, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
In fact, I had him as my number one receiver.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
I haven't changed my opinion of him.
No, right. He didn't get worse all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he landed. I mean, if he'd have landed in Carolina, people would be talking differently about that. He'd be the clear-cut number one.
Or even if Dallas takes him and doesn't trade for Pickens, which I think was a possibility. I mocked that at one point. It would be like, man, that's a great spot. I don't look at Green Bay as this super crowded spot where he's not going to get targets.
No, Watson's not going to play.
Watson's not going to play.
And you just start looking at they
have good tight ends, but still.
I just want to call up their stats here. Last year, Jaden Reed got 75 targets. Romeo Doubs got 72.
Really? Did they both play every game?
Doubs missed 4 games.
Did he? I thought he would have higher target share than that.
Reed, so technically he was the number one.
In more ways than one.
In targets.
Yeah. Right.
Tucker Kraft got 70. Christian Watson got 53. Well, those are out the window. Nobody's going to get those 50.
Nobody's getting those.
Somebody has to get those targets.
And I think they'll throw the ball a little more.
Yeah.
No, it's not a bad landing spot for him.
Dontavian Wicks had 76 targets. Dontavian Wicks had more targets than Jaden Reed.
Did Reed play every game?
Yeah.
See, the Reed stuff's weird to me, too. Like, he met with the team to make sure he's still the number one, but he never really was a one.
Yeah,
he's not a clear one.
He should be.
I think he's their best player.
I think he's their best one.
But it made me keep thinking, could the Steelers make him could he move? It's weird that he met with the team after the draft to see if he's still the one.
That is
it doesn't ever happen. They don't owe him that.
The thing, they've got a bunch of guys, and it was something that I can't remember who brought it up in their offseason. Was it Josh Jacobs? We need a number one receiver.
Yeah, I think he did say something along those lines, right?
Because they've got a bunch of guys who are 2s and 3s.
Yeah. Including Reed, really.
Including Reed. I think he would be better served being a 2.
He's not Jamar Chase.
Right? He's not a true number one guy. They hoped that Watson was going to be that. I mean, he was their highest drafted guy of that group.
Yeah.
But
he's always been the field stretcher.
He just can't stay healthy.
Right. No, I don't know that we'll see much of Watson, period, the rest of his career.
So, I mean, that's could Golden take that over? Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. I think pretty easily, right. I mean, those aren't that much to get over in terms of competition.
You got 4 guys that had 70-plus targets.
Could he get to 90?
Yeah, and then Watson had 53. Somebody's got to
Will Wicks get that same amount? I mean, he didn't do much with it. He dropped a lot of passes.
He did nothing. He had on 76 targets, he had 39 catches.
Wow.
He's a slot.
Yeah.
Those should be easy pitch and catches.
But he struggled catching the football, too.
Yeah.
Now, Golden, to me, the more we talk through it, is definitely being valued too low. He's a good player in a good situation without crazy competition.
Yeah, I think he would be one that I would have on that list. He might be a guy to target in your rookie drafts.
Yeah. He's going late in rookie drafts.
That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
The 15th rookie off the board. I mean, not even always a first-round pick.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Both tight ends go ahead of him every time. I'm like, I think I'd take Golden over those dudes. He goes right around like Burden and Higgins.
And remember, the thing to remember about the Packers' passing game last year is they had to start Malik Willis 2 games.
Yes, I mentioned
they didn't
Love's
throw the
injuries.
Football in those. He
had like 11 attempts. In those games.
So their numbers were.
They won some of them, but
down
really
a little bit.
No, that's
when Love was out there in 15 games. Love threw 425 passes.
Okay, I think he's a little light on some of these rookie rankings or some of these fantasy rankings too. I mean, he started the season banged up.
Won me my championship last year. That's all that mattered.
Was that who you had?
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely a top 12 guy.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah.
So, anyways, I just thought that was interesting. But let's get to a break. When we come back, it's X Twitter Tuesday. Thursday.
Yeah.
Not Tuesday. It's Thursday.
It's rolling.
So we'll get to those. Get your questions on the X Twitter. He's Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. You can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and get it there. including things like you can get other great stuff like the schedule. Boom, right there on your
Yeah,
phone
lots going on.
as it comes out. You can also watch along on YouTube. And I did want to mention that we will be going on a hiatus here in a few weeks on the YouTube channel. Was it June 6th, Tyler? June 6th, we'll be taking a little hiatus until training camp on the YouTube channel.
It's also my birthday if you're thinking about a present.
Yeah, there you go. But young Tyler, going to be a father here at that point. So
Right. Congrats.
He has other things that he has to take care of before training camp starts.
We do have lives, sort of.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that. But give us a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Leave your comments and questions there.
But we'll be back, of course.
We will be back once training camp fires up in late July.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have the podcast stuff and everything else.
The podcast will not go away. We will continue to do that, although we will be taking a little bit of time off.
Mm-hmm. Here and there. Yeah, I got a couple things to do, too.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to our Twitter questions here, our ex-Twitter questions. And the first one is, if Rodgers doesn't end up signing, do you see Rudolph as a clear starter, or do you think Howard has a legitimate shot at winning the job? I personally prefer either to bringing in a different vet like Cousins. I don't think Howard can win the job.
I get asked this question a lot, and I think people are super excited about Howard. There's a lot of Ohio State fans in this neck of the woods, let alone them being on TV all the time and winning the national title.
I wouldn't bet on that, though.
Right. He was a sixth-round pick. I mean, I've heard several people, he's going to come in and compete right away. I'm like, sixth-round pick.
Sixth-round pick.
That rarely happens. And I don't prefer Rudolph and Howard to a Cousins situation. I mean, depending what he costs.
Right, yeah.
But I would go another veteran route.
Yeah, I think I would too. And again, it's not a knock on Mason Rudolph. It's not a knock on Howard. I like both guys.
I think the quarterback room's...
I think, but
I like those guys.
You saw last year, you needed two.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the year before that, you ended up playing multiple. You played three quarterbacks a year before.
I mean, the chances of Rudolph playing sometime throughout the course of the season are pretty high.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
And that would mean, are you then comfortable with Howard being your number two?
That
one heartbeat away from being the...
To me, that's a success for Howard. Is if you leave the preseason going, I think
I'm talking about there's an injury.
That's what I mean.
And he has to be the number two.
Right. That's what would be.
And even at that, they ended up playing their third quarterback last year.
Oh, yeah.
They snapped, but he had still to come onto the field.
It's not uncommon for a team to go three deep over the course of a season.
Yeah.
My point on Howard is don't aim for competing for the starting spot.
If he wins the number two job, that's fantastic. But I don't
not
see
even winning it. I just think
it looks like he's capable.
Yeah. If the preseason ends, he plays a lot of snaps. I'm going, I think he can be a pretty good two. That's a win.
That's a win.
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen this year. Mason Rudolph is going to be the two. He won't beat
him out. Right.
Yeah.
Right. To your scenario, I think we're agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
But if it's week 10 and Rodgers is hurt, I'm like, I'm okay with Howard being the two.
Yeah. Next question, which is the most likely way do you see us adding a wide receiver to the wide receiver room through free agent or trade? Give us a few names you consider for in each case. Greetings from Mexico. Love the show. That's from Alex Reyes. We've talked a lot about that. I think the number one free agent guy to me is still Amari Cooper.
It's kind of the only one at this point for me. You know, that it would be a reasonable answer to say you're done. I think one of these draft picks will go to another team at some point for a receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they got tons of them. We could go over the names, and we've brought them up a lot. But there's probably more names than we even know, and I think some of that stuff's even going to get sorted out more once we get.
I think once you get once you get through mini camp and those kind of things, and teams get their eyes on what they have, some of those guys will become available or more available, and even into training camp.
Yeah.
It may be a situation like this rookie is tearing it up. Houston's a perfect example of that. I mean, they gave up a 7th-round pick for
He's
Christian
the
Kirk.
most obvious name to me, especially after 2 day 2 draft picks of receivers we like that are rookies. And they still even have like a Mechie. I mean, if Mechie's your 4, you're fine. Right. You're in great shape. So I would say Christian Kirk is maybe the most logical. Maybe one of those Packers.
Yeah.
I think those are
if it gets to a situation where they're all just, this guy's coming into my office this week, that guy's coming into my office next week, And they're all wondering, hey, you've got too many.
You got too many, right?
You know,
and you could get something for them. You know? I'd give you a decent pick for any of those guys.
Brad asks, what would the Steelers need to see from Howard to not draft a quarterback in round 1 in 2026? I don't know.
I know this isn't what he asked, but we don't think the Saints are going to be good. Right. We don't think the Giants are going to be good. What would the Giants or Saints, or what would Shuck or Dart, who were picked way, way higher? I mean, one of them was a first-round pick they traded up for. One was an early 2. What would they have to do to prohibit their team to not take one high? It's almost impossible.
Right.
I mean, it really is. You would have to be Rookie of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. At least. And could Howard ever get to that point or ever have the opportunity to show that?
There would have to be multiple injuries at the position for him to even get the opportunity to do that.
Right. And then if that even happens, how many games does he give you to judge? You know, I mean, could he come to camp and be the best quarterback we've ever seen? Yeah, but it probably won't happen. You know, no one thought Russell Wilson as a rookie after they signed Flynn was going to be the opening.
But he was a third-round pick.
He was a third-round pick, and he beat out Flynn. I mean, it was fun.
Dak Prescott won that job as a fourth-round pick because the starter got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Romo got hurt, and all of a sudden he gets all these opportunities. Like, oh, that's not bad. Yeah. And that could happen to Howard. You hope it doesn't, because I don't want Rudolph and Rodgers to get hurt.
Both of those guys would need to get hurt for that potentially to happen.
Yeah. I don't know that he'll ever get the opportunity, and I hope he doesn't, to make you say, man, this really good player in round 1 is not for us.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how that could happen.
If Rodgers
have a Purdy type of year.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was a situation where he was the last man standing.
Yeah. And even if Howard had Purdy's rookie year and Nussmeier's still available, you probably go for the Rook. You know, or you probably trade,
If Rodgers doesn't sign by mandatory minicamp, would the Steelers really trade for Cousins, or would they just start Rudolph? Feels like the fan base would rather see Rudolph start and save the draft picks for 2026. Here's the thing about the draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talk a lot about, they've got 12 picks for next year.
Which is wonderful.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Mock drafts are going to be a blast.
You're still, if you're moving up in the first round, those extra
fifths and sixths
aren't going to get you anywhere.
They don't get you anywhere.
You're going to have to trade, at the very least, this year's that first round pick next year, and a 2 the following season, or a 1. You know, even if you gave them all 3 of your 3s.
That doesn't get you far either.
That doesn't get you up far enough.
That might you move up 5 spots.
Yeah.
That might get you from 21 to 17.
Right.
Give you 3 3s.
Yeah.
That's not much.
It's just not enough to do it. So the idea that
what's nice about all those extra picks is, okay, if we're not going to have a first or second
to do that,
this year,
now we can fill our needs in the third round.
I can draft a safety in the third round. I can get the Caleb Johnson in the third round, or a developmental tackle in the fourth.
In what looks like a deep draft. Yeah.
Right. My first, second, and next year's first went to quarterback X.
Or I can trade some of those picks next year for picks in if I have to trade away my first
next year
in 2027.
That's what I was going to say too. Right.
Okay, I'll give you 2/3 for a 2 next year.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
I know I won't get my first back, but I have 2 seconds in 2027.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world too.
Right.
I mean, they're liquid, but I say this all the time. It's not like you're collecting pennies and they eventually equal $1.
Yeah.
You could offer 32 7th-round picks, and no one's going to give you their first-round pick for that.
Doesn't work that way.
Right. Even if the trade value chart eventually gets you there, it doesn't.
Yeah, right.
No.
J. Mars asks, other than wide receiver, what position do you think we can add a somewhat big name in? I'm hoping maybe outside cornerback or offensive line. Well, quarterback's still pretty good.
Yeah. All those spots, I would have my eyes open.
But a somewhat big name, I don't.
I'm not saying trade a 2nd-round pick.
I'm not seeing a big name.
I mean, there's no O lineman that fit that bill.
No.
I mean, I'm thinking Jedrick Wills. Is that a somewhat big name? He wouldn't even be a starter, but it'd be throw him on a 1-year deal, and if he's healthy, maybe you get something out of him.
Yeah. He's probably at this point just waiting for somebody to get hurt, and
I don't know if he's healthy.
Yeah,
because he had a weird.
He had an injury.
Too,
right. Michael Edward asks, do you see more rest/limited snaps being planned for Watt this year, it seems like his production has trailed off toward the end of the season over the last few years. Well, that's not true.
Not true, but I would like to see him take 10% less.
Yeah, last year his production tailed off, but everybody's production tailed off at the end because of, again, the 3 games in 11 days, and he got banged up in one of those. But I wouldn't say.
I think some of the defensive coaches at the draft mentioned
they would
Cam
like
and TJ to play a little more sparingly.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to be out there 85% of the snaps.
That's my point, right.
You'd like him to be available.
He plays 78% instead of 85.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to be resting all the time, but yes, I think with 4, assuming Sawyer's one of those capable outside linebackers, lighten his load a little.
Yeah,
a little.
The idea, though, that Watt has tailed off the last couple of years at the end of the year.
I don't know about that, right?
I'm just looking here. So his final game in 2024, he had 2 sacks against the Ravens. 2 sacks, 8 tackles, and 3 tackles for losses. He had 5 sacks in the last 4 games. Is that tailing off?
If so, it's pretty
I don't know where this narrative started at.
Yeah.
I don't, but I've heard it a lot. Well,
I've heard it too.
He's really tailed off. The year before that, he had a half sack in the last game. He had a sack in the next to last game. So in the last 5 games, he had 4 sacks.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's not tailing off at the end of the year.
That's not tailing off, right. No, I never saw that.
That was coming off the injury. The year before that, in 2022, when he won the Defensive Player of the Year award, he had, in the last 4 games, he had 6.5 sacks.
Really?
So this whole narrative that his play has tailed off at the end of the year is complete horse hockey.
Yeah, the sack production sure hasn't. That's for sure.
He has been a very effective player.
I've been asked that too, and I don't quite know where it comes from.
I don't know where it started. I'm sure it started on probably the other radio station in town that maybe people just take it as gospel because somebody says it on the air. It's not true.
Maybe it's just because he's the best player and their success hasn't been there in the playoffs and stuff. He must be tailing off. There's LeBron falling apart in the playoffs. That doesn't mean it's not the truth, right?
But yes, they do want him to play fewer. Maybe,
I think that's
maybe it's 75% of the snaps instead of 85.
That'd be great. Great.
He also asked, would you agree the Steelers play systematically the same on defense from the beginning of the year to the end with little variance in game plan from team to team? Do you think that contributes to poor playoff results because good teams know what to expect from the D? I don't agree with that at all.
I think they'll have more varied coverages going forward.
Right.
I think they'll have more, and I'd like to see more blitz from slot and especially off the ball linebackers.
They just couldn't do it last year.
Yeah, and they didn't do a lot of it. I see what they're saying. I mean, I'd like to see more variety.
So last year in the playoffs, the thing that I was critical of is they changed the way that they played defense against the Ravens in the playoff game.
That's a good example.
So they didn't play the Ravens like they'd always played the Ravens.
No, right.
They didn't do what had worked time and time again against Lamar Jackson.
I know that you know that I know that you know, so I'm going to zig when you zag.
They zigged, and the Ravens picked up on it quickly and
had a lot of success.
And diced it up.
Right.
They changed things up.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, the last 3 playoff games that they've lost to Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. That's the crux of the problem. Now, I do think the blitz percentage will go up. I think you'll see more.
You're going to play more man.
More man.
Yeah.
I think you'll see more off-the-ball linebacker blitzes. The Thornhill signing makes me think that you'll see more big nickel. You might see more 3 safeties out there than you have. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to answer that.
I think people get into this idea that, well, they just do the same thing all the time because, well, Julian Edelman said that about the 2017 team.
Right. No,
because Julian Edelman's watching every Steeler game and breaking down every tape. He can tell you exactly what's going on now with the Steelers.
It wouldn't shock me if you see Minka in deep middle 20% less. Someone else gets that job or slight more cover 2. I mean, I don't think there's going to be sweeping changes.
No, I think.
Right. I think you'd like to play more man.
Max Yari asks, is the team interested in re-signing Deshaun Elliott and or Calvin Austin this offseason? This offseason? Or next offseason?
Elliott's up after the year, right?
Elliott, both of them are. Both he and Elliott and Austin are both up after the year.
I don't think I'd do anything with Austin until maybe after the season.
There's no reason to, right. and I don't.
Elliott maybe
they could add on. They can add another year on.
That's
to
what
Elliott.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be
that big of a deal.
Right. You might get him at a little bit of a discount. I think he's proven himself. It's not priority one.
No.
But in camp, if you threw an extra year on his deal, sure.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that makes sense. He's earned that.
Yeah. Nathan Skinner asked, what part of the schedule do you think will be the toughest? Well, I think it's the end.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
playing Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson back-to-back doesn't look
great.
Right.
But it is what it is. Let's take one more here before we get to a break. Derek Manton says, love the show. What is your underrated key game that you think will be huge for the Steelers to make the playoff? Mine is the Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
I was about to say the Chargers. Okay, I didn't read the question, but I'm sitting there thinking maybe they're fighting for a wild card
that could be a big one because, if you win that game, not only do you win the game, but you beat one of the teams that maybe you're
That's
fighting
my
with.
thoughts, too. I think the Chargers have a better chance of fighting for the Steelers for a playoff spot than like the Colts.
Yeah.
So I think Chargers are a really good call.
The Dolphins,
I was going to pick an AFC team.
The Dolphins would fit into that same, again, because they're AFC wins.
Right.
I
didn't want to pick a division game. That's too low hanging.
But then, a couple of the other toss-up games would be Minnesota and Green Bay. Mm-hmm. But they're not conference games. So I would agree. The Chargers,
I think, is the best call. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'd love to give them a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the Bengals. You'd like to, if you could sweep the Bengals, that'd be awesome.
That'd be great because I don't think the Bengals are going to be a 12-13 win team.
I don't think so either. Not with that defense.
Right? I'd be shocked.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. We'll come back. We'll finish up our Twitter questions here. And he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on Steelers Audio Network. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And we're going through our X-Twitter Thursday questions here. And Matt DeSico says, love the show. I think all the regular listeners appreciate the no hot take or BS rumor mongering others in the area partake in for engagement. No question this week. Just wanted to acknowledge it. Never miss a show. Well, we appreciate it.
That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah. I don't read some of these ahead of time here.
Yeah, that's all right.
Don't try to sneak something in on me. Bob in Tennessee asked, when I did the draft on simulators, they always seem to have at least 3 trade offers in the first round. It seemed you guys had the same. Is that close to reality, or is it just something to make the app more fun?
I think it's mostly to make the app more fun.
Yeah, I mean,
no question.
If you're because what they want to do is engage you to keep you coming back.
Yeah, and
do more and more. So if it's just I got pick 21, I'm going to pick 21 again here, and I never get any trade offers, you end up taking the same guy all the time.
And what's different, obviously, in real life is Omar and company have talked to all these teams and. Well, this isn't going to work out, or you want too much to come up, or, your player's gone. It's a lot longer process.
There's a lot of variables.
Right. Like, we could give the Packers a call here. It worked out like we thought, and, okay, it's a match.
And I do believe the Steelers had offers to move back this year.
Probably.
But they weren't going to trade away from Harmon.
That's the thing. I thought after Nolan and Grant went, too, it's like, trading back seems real unlikely now. Right.
Yeah. Parabolic asks, if the Steelers don't sign Rodgers, is there a higher chance of them not signing TJ, or are they unrelated? I think they're unrelated.
I think they're unrelated. I think they want Watt to retire as a Steeler.
They want him. He's a Hall of Fame player. They want him to be play his career here.
Yeah, and maybe next year there's a first-round quarterback that's real happy that TJ's leading the defense,
Andrew Kwiatkowski asks, do you think Rodgers avoided signing until after the schedule was made so they didn't add a bunch of primetime games like they did with the Jets last season? I think Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk threw that out there.
I say somebody mentioned that.
I think it's just throwing stuff against the wall. I think that the process is the process. One thing I have heard that makes a lot of sense is that Aaron Rodgers hates OTAs.
Yeah.
Especially the early OTA sessions.
Oh, I've heard that too.
That he doesn't want to have to come in, and you don't have to.
He's 47
but he's
years
the
old,
quarterback.
Right.
And so, you are expected to show up and And
I think he enjoys his free time.
Yeah.
And he's earned that at his age. He has money and he has some power in this
Here's
situation.
The thing.
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger didn't show up at a lot of those OTA sessions either.
No. Right.
Older players don't love the OTA set. Like
Cam Hayward probably doesn't
when
like
I'm talking
them.
about OTA sessions, the early portions of it, those are weightlifting and strength training and running and all that. Like, yeah, you're a quarterback.
Right.
I don't need you in there lifting 600 pounds.
Right. No, First off, I don't know how.
And by the way, you've got enough money that you probably have a really nice gym at your house.
And a personal trainer and nutritionist and everything, too.
I don't know if Tom Brady showed up at OTA sessions.
I have no clue.
I have no clue. Nobody knows because they're not reported on.
It's not that big a deal, right? Yeah, I'd love to have him signed by OTAs, but again, I don't think he likes them either. And I don't know that I would like them.
The on-the-field ones are different than what's going on now.
Oh, yeah. That too. I mean, it'd be nice to see him throw into Metcalf or whatever and getting involved, but he's super smart. He's going to figure out the offense in no time,
Michael Adesso says Dale.
He might already be working on the offense.
Yeah, he may have the playbook. Michael Adesso asks, Dale, since you've been to every stadium in every city in the NFL, are there any you prefer going to? I guess press box more than stadium. Who has the worst press box? Matt, besides Cleveland, obviously. Have you ever been to another NFL stadium as a fan or in general?
I've been to like 4 or 5, and most of them were as a Brown scout. Preseason every week you go somewhere or 2. But, I mean, it was business trip. I'm sitting there taking notes the whole time. I mean, I'm not tailgating and partying.
That's the thing that, people all the time I get, you go to every stadium. You must have a good time on game day. I'm like, no, game day is like a 14-hour, 16-hour work day.
I'm
not stopping at tailgates, drinking down in beers on my way into the stadium.
Right. And I missed that part. I would love to do that. But even as a fan, probably as long as my life as I was in the media, I don't remember going to any Steeler road games for my first 30 years or so, 25 years.
I'd have to think about which cities do I prefer to go to in terms of the press box and stadium. I do like the new Atlanta stadium. We've been there a couple of times. It has nice sight lines.
Yeah.
It's an indoor. One thing I like about the indoor facilities or some of the indoor facilities is that they're enclosed.
Yeah.
Because the
noise can be a problem.
The problem becomes if you were in a indoor stadium that is not enclosed or has an enclosed press box. They all have announcers telling you, what the play was, or you're hearing what the official says on the field. And in some of the indoor stadiums that aren't enclosed, don't have an enclosed press box, you can't hear anything.
I know hearing's a problem.
You can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching on my laptop to see what the call was.
Okay.
And things like that. That I'm at the game. People wonder because I'll live tweet during the game and stuff. You're at the game. How could you not know that? I'm like, you have no idea what television I can't hear right now.
Yeah, television is pretty beneficial. Here's the replay. Here's what they said. I'll clarify it for you. That's why they're getting paid to be color men.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So I do like the sight lines in Atlanta. I think they did that one well.
Our show last night, Mike was talking about good destinations. I know he really liked LA's stadium. It's a cool stadium, right?
It's a nice stadium. I don't like the way, after the game, they put fencing up around that sucker.
Really?
So I guess so people don't just wander in and out of it because it is an open outdoor. It's an outdoor stadium with a roof on it.
Like you described it as like a pavilion.
It's like a pavilion.
Yeah.
So people, if they didn't put the fence up, people could just wander in and out of there at their own leisure.
The homeless person might just find somewhere to live for a week and run around the stadium. Yeah.
And so the last time we were there, I was I had an Uber ordered to take me back to my hotel. I had to walk like a mile to get to the Uber stand because you had to go around the stadium. You had to find a way out of the fencing. Joe Rudder and I from the Trib were we're walking around the indoor of the fencing because where the media entrance opened up at, it was all already fenced in. I'm like, how do we get out of here?
Oh, yeah.
So you had to walk all the way around and then come out and then walk all the way out to the cab, or not the cab stand, but somewhere to get an Uber.
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned this 1,000 times. Mike brought it up last night. New England's really hard to get to.
New England is ridiculously hard to get to. And the thing about that one is if you're doing radio pregame, you actually have to leave the press box, go out into the stands because the press box is in the end zone, and the media or radio booth is at midfield.
Oh wow!
So you have to leave.
The press box is in the end zone.
Yeah.
Is it really hard to see the opposite end zone?
There's a lot of those now, and you have to a lot of times end up with the binoculars.
I would think. You always think about the press box being like the 50-yard line, or at least horizontal.
That is going away.
Oh really?
A lot of places like Baltimore just changed their press box. Baltimore used to have.
I heard people don't like it.
Maybe the closest press box to the field anywhere. It was second or between the second and third levels. Like, you didn't even have to get your binoculars out
Yeah,
in Baltimore.
yeah. You could read every number and, right.
Now they moved it last year up. Not only did they move it to the end zone, they moved it way upstairs in the end zone.
It's
so
far,
it's
far now, right?
And so it's much more difficult to see there, and not as much fun. But the radio booth, I believe, if I remember correctly, is still back over where the radio booths are. So again,
that's a hike too.
You have to leave and go down and do all that stuff down there.
But needless to say, folks, I mean, every one of these stadiums has their own personalities and quirks, and yeah.
And there's some
and the
cities,
food and right.
Some cities cities that you go to more often, you're just more you know where everything's at.
Yeah.
It's just but
more comfortable and
yeah.
I like this bar and restaurant the night before. Blah blah blah. Right.
Hessian asks, what do you know about Sebastian Castro, the undrafted safety out of Iowa? Camp body or wait and see? Thanks. I love Sebastian Castro. I can't believe he wasn't drafted.
Another nugget with him is there was a big Iowa fan that was tweeting me about Caleb Johnson and we've addressed this, his speed issues. I think we talked about it yesterday, the day before.
Yeah.
But the people that also chart speed on the field, Castro's was like Johnson, where it was really, really good, but he didn't time great.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a guy that when he sees it, he closes quickly.
Yeah. I kind of expect him to make the team.
I do too.
Especially, unfortunately,
I think he'll be a great special teams player.
Great special teams and fourth safety.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Watt situation opens things up for him too at safety.
Chris G _Steelers asked, do you see DJ Thomas Jones legitimately threatening Connor Hayward for a roster spot? That's the fullback type guy. He's got to show he can play special teams.
That's the whole key. Like they had a legit fullback in last year, and he wasn't quite good enough on special teams. You got to be one of the best 5 or 6 on the team.
Yeah.
Then you got a shot.
Then you have a shot.
Right. And Connor is one of those guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he has to cut. You got to cut one or the other. But I think they would like to incorporate a fullback, but not at the expense of not being great on special teams.
Right. Yeah. Right. You just don't have the roster spots available to.
But pay attention to us at training camp. We'll be watching that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Because he's being used a little bit different than anybody else.
Max Yari says, who are some trade targets for the Steelers have their eyes on? Seeing a lot of stuff about Olave, Ayuk, Dobbs. Is there any truth to that? It's all speculation.
That's all speculation.
Ayuk is not – they're not trading for Brandon Ayuk.
I don't think
the
so
49ers
either.
would take on like a $50 million cap hit.
It doesn't make much sense for them. It really doesn't after signing him last year.
And he's not going to play until midseason.
That being said, if I could get him cheap, I don't care that he doesn't play until midseason.
But I just don't see the 49ers.
I don't know why the Niners.
I don't know why they would move on. It would cost them money against the cap to move on from it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't sign him to a big contract and then trade him the next year. It just rarely happens. I'd love that, Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And I'd wait 6 weeks to play him. I don't care.
Steel Warrior asks, if you both could do anything else, what would it be? I'd be a multi-millionaire playboy. That's what.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like the Andy Van. One of my favorite quotes ever is Andy Van Slyke. Like, if you could be anybody other than yourself, who would you pick, Andy? And he said, "My wife, because she's married to me." No, I'd hate to be in my wife's shoes. That would not be my pick. I'm a lot luckier than she is. I don't know. Something not as well as this. I think I found my niche in life, and whatever else I would do, I wouldn't do it as well as this.
Yeah, I hear you. And he also asked, what's your favorite Steelers player of all time?
I don't have a favorite Steeler. Lemieux's my all-time favorite athlete.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I have a Steeler that's my all-time.
It'd
be one that I'm as a kid.
I cover the team. I pulling back the curtain. I didn't grow up a Steelers fan, even though I lived in West. I just, it is what it is.
I did, and I had like a Lambert poster, and I remember when he had the turf toe. I saw him in the when they went to the Niners and ruined their undefeated season, and I thought that was super cool. Like, Mr. Lambert, can I have an autograph? He said, "Say please." And I was like, ah. Yeah, I was like 10 years old or whatever. Maybe it's Lambert, but it would be someone from that era.
Yeah. Matthew asks, other than the one word answer, don't, what advice would you give to somebody that wanted to go into the sports show /podcast world?
I think it's a lot harder now than it was then.
Yeah, there's just so many of them now.
There's so many, and you're not going to make a lot of money for a while. But it's treated me well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy I made that decision, so I wouldn't say don't. I'd just say proceed with caution.
You have to get your reps in.
Yeah, you
can't jump into it and expect to,
And I would certainly say, what makes you different than the 100 other that want to do it? You know, why would I pick you?
Right.
You know, or why would somebody that pays is going to give you the money? I'm not paying any money. Would pick you over the thousands else that want to do it. Yeah.
It's tough.
It's real tough.
You know, it's just difficult. Just breaking into media, period, is difficult.
I'm sure.
You know?
And so many people grow up, I'm a sports fan, I'm going to do this. And you might be really good at it, but
I've had lots of young guys, tell me that, or young people, I should say, men and women. And it's like, this is not for the faint of. You're not going to make a lot of money starting out.
I made 90 cents an hour at Pitt.
My first full-time job.
You got some free meals in there and some gear.
Yeah, my first full-time job in the newspaper business, I made $12,000.
I made $12,000 a year as a GA.
And I was doing news during the day, and because I wanted to be a sports writer, I was working sports at night.
Okay.
So I was essentially working like 10 or 11 in the morning until 1 o'clock in the morning at night, 5 days a week, sometimes 6, because this is what I wanted to do. Like, you're not going to make a lot of money, especially starting out.
I remember being in the GA room, and we all figured out about how many hours a year do we put in, and how much money do we bring back. Like, I think we make like between 89 and 91 cents an hour. Not so great.
Not so great. Yeah.
I didn't have kids then, and my wife had a good job, and
eat a lot of ramen.
Well, we had free food a lot.
I didn't get that.
Was big. Yeah.
Working in the news, I didn't have.
There were some perks with that. Well, during the season, we never paid for food, but during the off season, you had to figure something out.
Right. So, I mean, you got to put the work in, though. You got to. If you want to be a writer, you got to write. You want to work in this medium, you got to talk.
I mean, I said it's harder now than my day, and I definitely think that's true. But I didn't have the ability just to start my own podcast then.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff didn't exist, or your own YouTube page. I mean, you could do something on your own without ESPN backing you like they did for me, like, so that's one perk.
But I think
you got to get eyes on it.
The key, I think, to me, and it was one of the earlier questions or one of the earlier replies, don't be the hot take artist.
Yeah. That might get you some
You might get some early
attention.
clicks and you get some attention, but you lose all credibility.
Yeah. I was going to say that's like a powerful drug. Like first time it's great.
Oh, hey, look, there's my name on something.
Right. But then eventually it beats up your body and you're not as good at what you should do. I would
just be yourself.
Away from that too.
Be yourself and give honest opinions and work that way.
And if you can come in a different angle than most, that separates you. I remember that guy. He's the one that does this,
Yeah. So, anyways, that's going to do it for the Twitter questions today.
All right. One more day this week, right?
Yeah, we're back again tomorrow. Can't wait for that. But that is going to do some good questions again today. Every time we send out the bat signal like that, we get a lot of good questions.
Immediately, too.
Yeah, that's great stuff. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the soundboard and the Justin Miller hotline, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, soon to be new father, Tyler Vittmeyer, check out the video there on YouTube and give us a thumbs up there. It helps young Tyler out. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.